Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Happy book birthday, the Juliet Code. There's the cover, and as you all know, if you watched my weekly roundup at the end of September, when I read this as a NetGalley arc, I loved this book. I loved this book tremendously, and I am doing something I rarely do. I am going to celebrate the book birthday because it was a very special book. And while I love the entire Freddie and Grace series, of which this is book 3, I know that Pepper is worried that the characters aren't growing enough and the story is, not going stale, but she doesn't normally write characters that, are the main characters repeatedly throughout a series. And this is my love letter to this book because honestly, it is brilliant. It is. So if you haven't read any Pepper Basham books and you haven't read the Freddie and Grace series, here's a brief synopsis. There are 3 books in the series as of today. It is set in 1914, 1915. It is a cozy historical mystery romance. Christian historical cozy history, mystery romance. And Freddie and Grace are our main characters. Freddie, in the first book, which is Mistletoe Countess, is supposed to marry Grace's older sister. It's an arranged marriage. Freddie needs an influx of cash to stabilize his earldom, and Grace's father needs some contacts in Europe. Freddie's a great way to do that. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. The first book, Grace's older sister is in love with someone else, but she's going to do her duty. And Grace finds out that her older sister is not only in love with someone else, she's pregnant by that someone else. And Grace steps in and says, look, you can't marry Frederick. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to you. It's a lie. She agrees to step in his place. And thus, Freddie and Grace happen. And I'm not going to spoil the rest of the series. Go pick it up. It is a beautiful faith journey. It is a beautiful marriage of convenience love story. And that is really what it turns into. And they are beautiful books of faith. So that brings us to the Juliet Code, which is the 3rd book in the series. It is the 2nd stop on their honeymoon. They are now in Venice. They are, as the book opens, on a gondola, going down the canals, and some enterprising young men steal Grace's handbag, and off goes Frederick to retrieve her handbag. Grace loses her hat in the canal. She chases after them. In other words, it's your typical Freddie and Grace opening scene. It's wonderful. It is well written. It is lighthearted. It's joyful. So, handbag retrieved. They get introduced to Daniel Larrabee. Everything seems to be okay. They return to their hotel. They run into Grace's greatest detective friend, Detective Jack Miracle, and he invites them to join his hunt for the Juliet Code and the missing paintings. Perfect setting for an art heist mystery. That is where it's just the perfect setting for an art heist. Venice. You couldn't ask for more. Mystery ensues, hilarity ensues, faith, romance, intrigue. It's all there, just like it should be. The clues are well laid out. It isn't a case of telling and not showing. She clearly shows the reader. Pepper doesn't usually write mysteries. She writes excellent mysteries, and she is doing an amazing job with Freddie and Grace, both in their character growth, in their faith journey, in the clue solving, in side characters, the whole 9 yards. It's all just perfection. And the greatest point of perfection in this series to date, and I shared this when I talked about it in my weekly update in September. There are 2 quotes in the series, in this book in particular, and the first occurs in chapter 4, and the second occurs in chapter 5, and they are the very epitome of love. So I'm going to share the quotes. The first one is Freddie's internal monologue after Grace has just encouraged him to pick back up painting, which he used to love as a child, and his older brother ridiculed him for, and his mother was completely unsupportive of. And Grace is like, if you love it, pick it back up, go do it. So the first quote is Freddie talking to himself. Somehow, she seemed to have insurmountable faith in him. The second quote is from chapter 5. Grace has been having nightmares over being buried alive in sand in Cairo in the second book, and she's afraid that Freddie is going to go tired of living with a mad woman who's still experiencing nightmares. And this is Freddie talking to Grace. Grace, wise men recognize the treasures they already possess and do not go in search of more. Those 2 quotes are so very impactful. They are what it means to truly love someone. They are what it means to be in love with someone and to have a marriage that is mutually beneficial and mutually supportive, and they encapsulate the fact that at times one of you needs help more than the other, and that is a constantly shifting balance in marriage, and it is perfectly expressed in this book. And the faith in these books is the gentle, everyday, supportive faith, and it is lovingly expressed, and it is beautifully poignant when it occurs. I cannot say enough wonderful things about this book. It will be in my top books of the year. It is by far my favorite Freddie and Grace mystery to date. I am praying that she continues the series. There is so much more for Freddie and Grace to explore. She is masterful at this. So, is she as suspenseful and eerie and creepy as Jamie Jo, right? No, she's not trying to be. She is true to herself and still provides an excellently plotted, twisty, well laid out, cozy mystery that is just perfection. And there is romance, and there's plenty of kissing, and there's faith, and there's family, and it's perfection. So, as always, my blog is linked down below. I will link my September video reviewing the book. And happy book birthday, The Juliet Code. I truly think this is one book everyone should go and pick up. And Pepper, please write book 4. Please write book 4. I love this series. Please don't let it die here. Thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.